Hello and welcome to my first ever video on YouTube. Yes. So for my first video, I've chosen a content that actually I was going to make a course out of it. Uh, and now I've decided to put some of the course firstly on YouTube. Please enjoy my first video. Okay. Let's talk firstly about what is a service mesh. Probably if you are in DevOps or SRE, you have heard about it a lot of times, especially in the old ages that they wanted to implement something like service-oriented architecture. So it's pretty famous. Now that we have Kubernetes, a lot of jobs that service mesh should do, actually it's being done by by Kubernetes, and the need is not that much there. But anyway, if you want to do complex things, still we need service mesh. So let's go and talk about what is a service mesh. Clicking here. Okay, the outline. One of the things that I want to do in here is that I want it to be really practical. So for me, it's very important that you go over the course and you understand completely what's happening in there. Usually I'm trying to start any lecture or any course or any material by example. And here we are going to start with online shopping application. We start by having it as a monolith, and then we are going to change it to microservice architecture. And then we are going to find out what are the challenges that they are going to rise when we do that thing. And after that, we are going to see how we can solve these challenges with service mesh. Okay, here we have online shopping applications. Typical, everybody knows it. We have a front-end application part, and there is another one that is for authentication, another part to taking care of probably paying customers they want to pay with their Visa, MasterCard, and generally their card, and we have a database of users. We have a monolith in here. It means that all of the services they are in one place. Either they're in the same Docker image or they're in the same machine. Now let's change this one to microservices base. So as you see here, we are having different, each of these components in different VMs or Docker images or even pods. That's a Kubernetes word. So we have front-end component, we have authentication component, we have cart, and we have DB. And if you have been to inside the online shopping, you'd know that a lot of customers, they want to authenticate. And most of the transactions that you want to do, you want to make sure that the user is authenticated. What we are going to do in here, we are going to spin two instances of this authentication application. So we have two instances in there, but every other part is just one instance. So there are a lot of problems rising now with the current architecture. Let's start with the first one. Now that we have two instances, how you're going to balance the load between these two? Are you going to have a virtual network and a machine like load balancer machine or anything like that? Usually in the legacy systems, you would do some load balancer machine or software or virtual load balancer. In the new platforms like Kubernetes, this is done automatically by service. And also the next challenge that rises is that how you're going to discover the second instance of your system, of your authentication application. Or even if you're going to have 3 or 4 of them, how you're going to discover the third and the fourth one. So this is the challenges that they are rising, and service mesh can completely solve these ones. The next challenge that rises is that the network connection that is here, you see in here, it's usually HTTP. So if you want to implement something that is HTTPS, there is a problem that is rising, and that is you should program it completely in your programs, for example, in your DB or in your program. Imagine that you have a lot of components. Imagine that each of your developer is going to spend about 1 week minimum for making that connection secure. So easily in here, you have wasted 4 weeks of developer time. But if you are going to delegate this one to something like service mesh, you will not have that problem. You have it from day 0. And So how Service Mesh solves this challenge? In Service Mesh, we have something named control plane. Usually that's the heart of the Service Mesh and where configuration stored. Also, we have other parts in there, and that is data plane. And inside the data plane, what we are having is actually our instances of code. And here we have instance A, instance B, instance C. And on each machine, we have something like a small application, and they call it Sidecar Proxy. And for example, if we are talking about Istio, the Sidecar Proxy is actually Envoy. It's another application. And these Sidecar Proxies, they talk together. So what happens here is that the instance A talks to Sidecar Proxy, and then the Sidecar Proxies talk together. And how the configuration is going to load it in these Sidecar Proxies with their connection to the mothership or control plane. And how we are going to connect to the control plane, usually it's CLI, or if we are talking about Kubernetes, it's declarative with the resources of the Kubernetes. There is good things that they are happening. I think that's side fruit of this service mesh, and that is we are going to have the complete visibility of the network connections, packets that are sent and received. So that's the best thing, that's the best gift ever for somebody that wants to debug on the cloud. So imagine like now we have about 200 services, microservices. How you're going to find out that how are they working fine? What the error is coming up from? Where it was initiated? So all of these ones are going to happen with the tracing and also observing. There are other things also given to us by Service Mesh, something like injecting the fault and seeing how your system will behave. So that's great. Stay tuned when I'm going to speak about Istio. So to wrap it up, the benefits of Service Mesh, we have discovery of service, load balancing between the services, we have security, we can impose policies even, we have traffic control, observability like monitoring, logging, and tracing, and also we can inject fault tolerance to make sure our systems are running finely. Okay, that's it. That's my first video. Thank you.